The boxing chat, of course, is Steve Bunce.
And he's with super featherweight champion Kevin Mitchell as well, who's with us in the studio. Let's go straight on and talk about your fight that's coming up June the 7th. It is on Setanta Sports, of course, so we're able to see that. And let's just talk, Steve, about the magnitude of this. This is a massive opportunity.
It's a massive opportunity to Kevin because it's a big fight in America. He's not slipping over and boxing on a nondescript undercard somewhere. Kelly Pavlik, who's fighting Gary Lockett for the middleweight title. Pavlik is being built in America into a superstar. You know, he's the guy who at the end of this year, in theory, if he beats Gary Lockett on June 7th in Atlantic City, he's the guy that's being pushed to fight the Roy Joneses and, more importantly, the Joe Calzaghes. So he's a big star. So I'm imagining it's going to sell out, and that's going to be a top of the bill. And I think Gary, listen, it's going to be really hard for Gary, but anyone hits someone on the chin and Gary bangs, he could win. But he's got to start as a massive underdog. Kevin's on the undercard. The good thing about that is it gets Kevin used to fighting in front of 18, 16, 17,000 people overseas, in case that's where Kev has to go for his world title fights in the future. Yeah, it's that simple.
It's a good time of your career to have that experience, isn't it? 23 and on an undercard like that is huge.
Yeah, definitely. I think when you go, obviously I've not been out the country as a pro yet. As an amateur, I went to Russia, Italy and America. I boxed in America in the Junior Olympics. But I think the Americans, I think they're going to love my style. Apparently they're mega boxing fans, so as you're watching, when you watch like Oscar de la Hoya, like some big names, it's always a packed crowd there. You never see an empty seat. So I think like, they're going to like what I do out there.
So how different will it be for you boxing in America than in England or Britain or
I think it's going to be a little bit different because like my last fight, we had 20,000 there and it was banging. And I think that was going more for me than it was the main show, yeah. And I think it's going to be like going out there and be like, I don't know how many, it's going to be 18,000 Americans watching me. I probably only have 100 Brits coming over from my own fans. So it'll be a little bit different, it'll be a little bit quiet, but I'm sure we'll make a noise out there.
I was going to say, I guarantee they'll be louder than the Americans. So
yeah.
It's odd, the Americans, sometimes they don't make any noise. Yeah. There was a fighter a few years ago, it was Arturo Gatti, and this guy Arturo Gatti, he used to get a really noisy crowd in. But say an Oscar de la Hoya crowd, they scream because there's a lot of women, and I mean that. I'm not, that's a fact. But they don't really make it. And so Mike Tyson sometimes, and I saw him many times, sometimes you'd be sitting at ringside talking to someone next to you, and you look up and Tyson would be in the ring. And that just couldn't happen. It just couldn't happen here. I mean, you know, when Ricky Hatton comes out next Saturday at the City of Manchester Stadium in Eastlands, when he comes out in Manchester in front of 55,000 people, his exit from the changing room to getting in the ring will take 10 minutes, and the entire 55,000 people will be screaming for 10 minutes.
Songs.
So they do strange things in America.
Yeah.
You'd think they'd promote it, you'd think it'd be even bigger, but sometimes it's not.
How about fighting as a professional versus an amateur? You've fought in America as an amateur. What's the different mindset? You know, are there different things that go through your mind now that the stakes are different?
And when I was an amateur, I'd say I was a very nervous amateur. Like as in growing up, you learn things as experience. I think as a pro now, I'm now 23 and I'm ready to take on the world now, sort of thing. I think as an amateur, you got your dreams set and you think like, oh, I'm 14 years of age, I'm national champion, I'm fighting for young England. And I want one day, hopefully, be like the age of 23, 24, 25, be a world champion and get there and be topping 20,000 big bills on the big bills. But it's a different kettle of fish, amateurs and a professional.
It's tremendous self-belief, that, though, to be able to say, you know, I'm ready to take on the world. And, you know, you look comfortable saying that as well. You're not just sort of sitting there.
But it takes a while to get there. You can't suddenly walk out in front of 20,000 people, either if you're top of the bill or even on the undercard. You can't do it. That's why all of our best fighters, that's why their promoters have tried to, the best expression is blood them before they get there. So that when they walk out, they're not overawed by it. 'Cause the last thing you need is that you're leading your fighter out. You've been there as the promoter, you've been there as the trainer, but he's never really been there. And he walks out and you can smell, you can feel the heat from 2,000 people at your call. When you got 20,000 at the O2, when Kevin's talking about, that was like a cockpit. You'd think that was like a little living room, Kev. Not 20,000 people, eh?
How are you going to block all those people out?
This is a tricky one.
What'd you do?
Well, it's weird because I think the atmosphere at your call, both in the green, it holds about 1,500 to 2,000, and that there is, if you've ever been there to a boxing show, you'd know what boxing show's about. As soon as you come out, everyone's on top. It's like everyone's there, and it's the same sort of thing when you come out at the O2. I've been at big venues before and boxed when the crowds ain't as big. And I've been, obviously, the last one was packed, and it felt like being at your call. Yeah. So it's just weird. You just experiences from being a young kid growing up, having, like, I don't know, 500 watching a show, and it goes 2,000. it slowly builds up and the crowds get bigger and you learn to deal with it with experience. It's quite, it's a rush. It's a big rush.
Where's the fight? It's
Atlantic
City, isn't it?
The
Yeah, that's right.
Boardwalk, Atlantic City, which is a great venue, great old-fashioned blue-collar boxing venue, one of the last remaining ones. Because in Vegas, between the two of us, come closer, it's all about sort of pot. But unless the Brits go, the Vegas crowd are all being comped by the casinos. You need the Brits out there to give it some atmosphere. I've been in fights in Vegas, big fights with 12 or 15,000 people, and you can hear a pin drop midway through the fight. Not when Hatton's fans travel, not when Kaldaki's fans travel, and hopefully in a couple of years, not when Kevin's fans travel.
Great having you on, great pleasure. All the best on June the 7th. It's on Setanta. You'll be out there in Atlantic City. So we'll let you go now. Unfortunately, Steve's got to stay for a bit longer because we're going to be hearing